Rev up your engines!
Well, the first Tesla semis are being delivered. Now, this is 3 years later. They're going to be delivered to Pepsi-Cola. They're using them for their warehouses and stuff, right? Obviously, they're not going to be long-distance things, regardless of the nonsense that they say. And they're only making 100 of them. And, of course, they make up these stories. We're going towards 50,000 units in 2024. Nobody knows if it's going to work, if anybody's actually going to buy these things. If you look into the history of it, one of the only reasons Pepsi-Cola is buying these things is because the government gave them a grant in California to pay for the whole shooting match, practically. So Pepsi's not paying for it. The government's paying. Our taxpayer dollars are paying to get electric trucks for Pepsi. You may see something wrong here. I thought these corporations were supposed to stand on their own, not take our money to operate their businesses. I mean, it's gone a bit too far. And of course, there's no mention of the price. Realize the government has subsidized these ones that Pepsi's getting in California. It's government money. Let's see them stand on their own. Why is our taxpayer dollar going to this crap? It's beyond me. They're not giving us free cars and trucks to drive around, but they are a corporation. You figure that one out. Now, they say their goal is 100 semis this year. Who knows if they'll even meet that goal? But like I say, this is all government-sponsored nonsense. Let's see when it goes out in the real market, in the real world. Can it compete with diesel semis? Is it a practical thing? The Germans now, they've already proven in Germany that they can make fuel cell semis, not battery ones like Teslas. They're still electric semis, but they use fuel cells to create electricity. And they've already figured out that they can do it at the same or lower price per million miles than the diesels already do. But that's a different thing. It's using hydrogen. It's not using these giant batteries that cost a fortune, that weigh a lot. They got to pull themselves, and then guess what happens? They wear out after so many years, and they're super expensive to buy. To me, a hydrogen fuel cell one makes a lot more sense than big electric batteries in a truck. Even Bill Gates said electric semis are a joke. It won't work. They weigh too much. They take too much energy. They take too long to recharge. They got to pull all the weight of those batteries, which makes it even less efficient. So he's finally getting them out of the Pepsi that the government's paying for. That doesn't impress me. Here's one I can't help but laugh at. BMW is coming out with what they call a Generation 6 battery, a new battery for their electric BMWs that have 30% more range but cost 50% less. Now, they're always talking about, we got these revolutionary batteries. And look, they cost less. To me, I'm laughing my rear end off because these BMW electric cars start at $84,100. So if they're talking about something costs 50% less, they're obviously not passing the savings on to the people buying the stupid things, right? I always love that when they say, no, look, this gets better gas mileage now. And you look at it, and the system costs $10,000 to make, and you get 5% better gas mileage for $10,000, which you'll never recoup owning the vehicle. They just like touting that, well, look, we're green at BMW, but these cost less, and they're more efficient. The cars start at $84,000. This is not costing less. And to top it all off, I, as a mechanic, realize the absurdity of this. These new batteries are going to be part of the structure of the car. The floorboards that you're sitting on are the top of the battery. If the battery is part of the structure of the vehicle, when you change the battery, it's going to cost you a fortune because it isn't going to be plug in, plug out. It's part of the structure of the car. It's going to have to be all fastened in correctly and sealed so water doesn't get in. I mean, I love these engineers. It's beautiful. It's part of the structure of the car. Let's just make it so like Tesla does. They have that giant molding machine that makes an aluminum part of the car that's humongous, right? Well, it's one piece. So if you get in a wreck and that piece breaks, they're like 1/3 of your car you gotta buy because you can't fix it. It's one piece, right? Why on earth you would want to make the battery part of the structure of the car other than, of course, realize BMW is a German motor company, right? And why do the Germans do things? Because they can. They're engineering freaks. I mean, they made all these crazy tanks in World War II and they say they were the best tanks, but they really weren't. Every time they'd go like 100 kilometers, they'd break because they were too heavy. They had too much strain. And when they worked, boom, yeah, great. But they'd break the bridges they went over and then sink in the water. Sometimes doing something just because you can is not a good idea. And if you ask me, this is one of them. Viper says, morning, I got a Toyota Highlander and the tire pressure sensor goes off and he fixes. Well, here's the problem. Your vehicle's 12 years old, right? Each tire has a sensor built in to the tire valve, right, where you add the air. Unfortunately, when they make them, the scumbags have the battery on the inside of the tire, and it's not replaceable. So, to fix it, you have to take the tire apart, put a new sensor assembly in, put the tire back on, rebalance it, then have a mechanic like me with our machines reset the computer system to accept the new sensor. It stinks. I know, it stinks, right? Because aftermarket, you can buy parts that just screw on to any valve on the outside. They have watch batteries in them. And then when the watch battery goes bad, you unscrew it, put a new watch battery, and screw it back in. But they don't make them that way. They make them so you got to take it apart. And if all four are going out, and they are batteries, the batteries will wear out eventually. They don't self-power. They're just batteries. It's amazing they last as long as they do. They're starting to go out now, but 12 years for a battery to last, you got to say, they last a while. But still, when they break, you got to take it all apart. And you could spend $800-900 replacing all four of them. So my advice, get a tire pressure gauge for $10. Check your tires yourself. It's a lot easier than spending $800 or $900 having the entire car, all the tires taken apart, buying all new sensors, having them reprogrammed. It's a stupid system, but the government requires it, so that's what they do. And of course, secretly they love it because then, oh, hey, we're going to make money on this one. We got to replace all four. And let's say you go to a guy like me and he says, well, the left front one's bad, and you replace it. Well, the other three are just as old, and eventually they're going to break, and it's going to cost you a bunch of money. So don't keep fixing it. Get a tire pressure gauge like I use. Agent 666 says, Scotty, I found funny news. GM has a new business which fixes Teslas. I read it too, and I'm laughing my butt off because I got customers with GMs, right? And they come to me because they said the guys at the dealers are idiots. They can't even fix their own cars, right? Well, now they're fixing Teslas. What are they fixing? They didn't give any information on what they're fixing, none whatsoever. Now, where are they going to get the parts from? Tesla parts are hard to get a hold of anyways. So I'm assuming this is crap like brake jobs, tires, stuff like that. They're not doing any kind of serious repair of these things, you know? And then, of course, the GM, they brag, oh, look, we have a new business. We're making money doing this. They just want to make an excuse to pretend they're making money to get people to invest in their company. Don't ever believe what these companies tell you because they'll lie about anything to get you to buy their stock and to get you to buy their vehicles. A GM, now we're going to be electric cars, all electric cars, oh, la, la, la. Hey, the electric cars that they're making have been falling apart. The batteries have been starting on fire. They had to replace them all in that one. The whole system, every one had to have the battery replaced. Are you going to buy something that doesn't even work that well and it's not that old? I don't think so if you're smart, you know? So I wouldn't listen to a word these people say. Because they're just out to get your money. GM's been going downhill for decades. Back in the 60s, GM and Ford were neck and neck. And GM just went as time went on. Their quality, they don't care. Many of their vehicles are now made in Mexico. Cheaper quality, cheaper parts, cheaper labor. I read a thing about GM in Mexico. Some of their workers are making $6.87 for a 12-hour work day. Not per hour, for the whole 12 hours. Right? So that's nothing. That's hardly any money at all. You're going to have crappy quality, you're going to have crappy vehicles. Diego de la Info says, Scotty, my car shut off in the rain, almost caused an accident. What could have caused it? All right, well, if it only happens in the rain, you got some kind of electrical problem. Water and electricity don't go together. So, check all your connectors. Under the hood, ignition, fuel, everything. Unplug them and look. And if you see green corrosion, you're going to have to clean it off with spray electrical cleaner like a toothbrush. Get it all off. Snap it back together. And then put a little sealer around the connector to keep crap from getting inside. Dielectric stuff works great to seal water out, right? Something in the rain has done it. Now, if you got an older car, sometimes it's as simple as you change the spark plug wires. They get wet, they short out, and it stops running. Now, you got some kind of electrical problem. Pray it's not the computer, because this is what I always say. Some things are just engineered wrong, like the Toyotas. Most of them, they got their computers inside where you sit, in the cabin, right? Under the dash, under the seat, wherever. A lot of Americans, well, it costs too much money to put the wiring harness all that way, so we put it under the hood where it gets hot, where the water gets in when it rains, right? So a lot of times the computers on American cars will do it because they get wet when it's raining, the humidity gets to them, and they short out. In that case, you'd have to spend a lot of money on a computer. But before you do that, if you do have an American car, unplug the computer, and you might see this green corrosion on the connector, and you can clean those off too. Asphaltum says, Scotty, our Toyota Coaster's reliable. I'm planning to buy one and make it into a camper. Well, yes, they're reliable. There's only one problem. In the United States, they really don't sell those things. So if you're in the United States, you're probably going to have a bit of a hassle getting parts for those. It's like, I get customers, and they will buy Japanese-made vehicles from Japan because they like them. Now, I don't like them because they got the right-hand drive. They drive like the English on the other side of the road, right? And I don't like driving a car like that in the United States, so I'd never get one. But be that as it may, if they get used to driving them, they can be very hard to get parts for because they're not the same as the ones built sent over the United States or the ones built here in the United States and Canada. Right? So they're really reliable vehicles, but if you do need parts, it could be a stinker getting them for that thing. You know, they're well made, they can go a really long time. Check around where you are about parts, and if you can't get parts for them, there's no sense buying something that if it breaks, you can't fix it. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.